YouTube, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be doing an unboxing and a first look review on, in my opinion, one of the most iconic SMGs, the one and only Tokyo Marui Gas Blowback MP7. I'm pretty excited because I've been wanting one of these for a while, so let's not waste any time and get straight into it. So we've got the Tokyo Marui MP7 A1 box, and you've got a little image of the MP7 itself on the box. And it's a pretty nice box actually, it's quite different. You've got the Tokyo Marui #1 sticker as well. If you open her up, so we've got a little packet with the user manual, and I can see a target and some disclaimers on the back as well. There's also another piece of paper with some interesting graphics. I think this is again to do with some sort of promotion. So here we've got the 40 BB capacity gas magazine, and as you can see, it's also got the H&K trades at the bottom. There's a pretty decent weight behind it as well, as you'd probably find on other gas magazines. And you've also got this little box with some accessories. This is pretty cool as well, you don't see these very often. In the box you've got a muzzle cover, a 12mm thread adapter, I'll go through this in a bit more detail with you later, some BBs, and some dry firing pins. So these go into the magazine and it will basically allow you to dry fire the MP7 without any BBs. And you know what, before I actually took out the magazine in the little box, I do have to say this is probably one of the most nicest presented replicas I've actually ever seen in an unboxing. You can tell that Tokyo Marui does go that extra mile to work on the presentation of the box. And before I forget, there is actually also an unjamming rod at the top of the box, so this is secured by the polystyrene. And as for the MP7 itself, I think it's fair to say that this is absolutely beautiful. It's relatively lightweight. I think it weighs around 2.2 kilos. But yeah, first impressions, absolutely beautiful. The polymer build is really solid. It already feels very compact in my hand, and you can tell this is going to be really good for cutting those really tight corners. And turning it over, I can see that the ejection port is actually already pretty nicely lubricated. So yeah, first impressions are really good. I'm really excited to get this out in the field. So as for the features of this replica, it's got a very solid polymer build, just like you'd find on its real steel counterpart. Now this is actually advertised as a 1-to-1 replica, but from what I've seen around, a lot of people are actually saying that this is 10% smaller than the real steel. Now please do take this with a grain of salt, because I myself have never held a real steel MP7. This is just a point that I've seen made by the majority of people that's handled the TM MP7. But if you know for certain the actual scaling of the MP7 replica compared to its real steel counterpart, please do let us know in the comments section below. But given that this is a Tokyo Marui, I'm not surprised that the polymer build feels very solid. I know Tokyo Marui are very famous for the durability in their replicas, so I've got absolutely no concern with regards to the build structure and the longevity of this replica. At the top of the wrist rail, you've got two sets of iron sights. You've got the standard pistol style iron sights, like what you'd find similar to a Glock. But if that's not to your liking, you can also flip it up for a more rifle style iron sights. And of course, these have adjustments for windage and elevation. But for me personally, I think I'm just going to take these off and whack on a T2 replica on here. It's also got 4 integrated polymer sling points, so you've got one in each corner on both sides. The retractable stock also has 3 different extensions, and to extend the stock you just have to slide this button up, and this is your first extension, second extension, and third extension. And as you can see, it's got the H&K MP7 A1 trades, and you can also see that there's caliber markings on the body of the replica, So you've got 4.6mm by 30. And on the other side of that, you've got the Tokyo Marui Co. Limited trade. You've also got wrist rails on both sides of the replica. So you've got plenty of real estate for some attachments you might want to put on here. For me, I'm probably going to have a battery pack on one side and the reverse cam on the other. The troubles of filming your airsoft gameplay. As you can also see, there is a forward folding foregrip. All you'll need to do is slide this tab down and it will release. In my opinion, there's a bit too much movement for my liking, and it does feel like if I put on this too strongly, it might end up snapping. The controls are entirely ambidextrous, so you've got the bolt release on each side, you've got your fire selector on both sides, and I have to say the fire selector gives a really positive click. It feels quite mechanical and secure, so I'm really happy about that. I like that a lot. And of course you've got the mag release on both sides as well. And if you look closely at the trigger, you'll notice that there's a two-stage trigger safety, like what you'd find on a Glock platform. So you'll need to have your fingers flush against the trigger before it actually pulls. So obviously this helps prevent any accidental firing, which is great. You've got the charging handle on the back. And obviously as my magazine is empty, the bolt is going to stay back until I activate the bolt release and it goes back in. And looking at the pistol grip, it's got texturing on the front and rear. This helps for better grip. And at the end, you've got this really nice metal and removable flash hider. So obviously this is where your thread adapter will go. Because if you didn't know, the threaded barrel is actually 12mm. So obviously you're gonna have a bit of trouble finding a compatible suppressor, as the majority of them are 14mm. So this thread adapter just allows you to put on a 14mm threaded suppressor on there as well, or tracer unit, or anything 14mm threaded. And to put it on, it's really simple. You'll just need to unscrew the flash hider clockwise and it will come off. And then you'll just need to screw in the adapter counterclockwise. And as you can see, you've got the 14mm thread at the end. Before we go ahead with the rest of the video, I forgot to mention how to actually access the hop adjustment. So to access the hop adjustment, all you'll need to do is to pull the trigger forward. And as you can see, the ejecting port slides back and exposes the rotary style hop up. So with a fully filled gas magazine, we're going to be doing a chrono test using 0.2 gram BBs, and I'll be using Newport green gas for this test. And the temperature in my house is around 22 degrees Celsius. .332. 331. 340. 337. 334. 332. 338. 330, 334, and 335. So the consistency is actually pretty good. So before we go ahead with the final thoughts, just a little heads up, I plan to do a video dedicated to my first ever game with the Tokyo Marui MP7, similar to what I did with my Crytek CRB. The video will be focused on my initial thoughts and opinions on how the replica performs on the first ever game. So if you don't want to miss out on that, please do go ahead and hit that subscribe button. So as for my final thoughts, undeniably the TM MP7 is a very good looking replica. Like I said earlier, it's very iconic, especially in the gaming world as well. And from the shooting test that I did earlier, I can already tell I'm going to have a lot of fun playing with this on the fields. The gas blowback really makes it a lot of fun to shoot. And it also actually feels really ergonomic. It feels like everything is exactly where it's supposed to be. And because of the SMG nature of this replica, it's absolutely perfect for CQB. I think I'm going to be using this as my primary when I'm playing outdoor CQB. It's perfect for a fast and aggressive play style. I'm actually also considering using this as a secondary for when I'm sniping, because if you're new to the channel, I've actually also recently just got my Norwich SSG 10. So once I figure out a way to holster this on my body or mount it on my body whilst I'm sniping, this is going to be my secondary. And overall, it also just makes a really good backup replica. If for some reason your main loadout for the day breaks, this would make a really good reliable backup. I'm actually also quite curious to see how my scope cameras will handle the gas blowback, so hopefully the image is still going to be quite clear. But of course, once we're all out of lockdown, I will have a lot of gameplay videos with this. But yeah, I hope you guys found this unboxing and first look review useful. I'm excited to get this out in the field. So for now, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.